Today's guest is someone who's blown up the magic world by mixing high-impact stunts, sharp comedy, and an absolutely fearless performance style. Wes Barker is a magician, comedian, and viral sensation whose work has racked up hundreds of millions of views across YouTube, TV, and social media. He's appeared on Penn and Teller Fool Us, where he did fool them, along with hit shows like America's Got Talent, Showtime, Ellen, MTV, Tricked, Big Trick Energy.
Just for Laughs, Comedy Central, Kill Tony, Wizard Wars.
He's toured internationally, packs theaters, and has a reputation for blending bold, modern magic with a totally disarming personality that makes audiences feel like they're hanging out with one of their funniest friends, who also happens to do miracles. From big stunt magic to clever original methods, Wes has carved out his own lane in the magic industry, and honestly, it's just ridiculously fun to watch him work. Wes, thank you for coming on and talking with us.
Dude, thanks for having me. That was a really nice intro. I thought it was done. That's why I jumped in, and then it kept going. So it was even nicer than I thought. Holy crap.
Absolutely. Just kill him with kindness. And you're more likely to, give us your juicy secrets from your brain hole.
For sure.
So where are you at right now? Are you up in the Great White North?
I'm currently sitting in my apartment in Toronto. I just got back yesterday, so it feels good to be home.
How long were you gone?
This time it was like a week. I don't normally, I'm gone I'm gone about 4 days every single week, maybe 5, but very rarely am I gone for more than like 5 days in a row. So this was just kind of, I was in New Orleans at this comedy festival called Skank Fest, and it's super fun festival. I'd never done it before. It was great. And then I went to Austin real quick, and then I came back here. So now I'm home for a few days. So it feels nice.
Well, nice. Like enjoy your time home. Then you're spending time on the internet with random strangers that you just met. You're the king of niceness.
The best thing to do. I mean, honestly, my wife is a flight attendant, and she's gone right now. So we had like one night together, but we just missed each other, our schedules. So if you want me to do podcasts, that's a great time when she's out of town, because I'm just sitting here by myself, right? Like, so it's either this or drink beer somewhere. So this is a pretty good option.
That's awesome. Well, we have to start off with what we talk about with everybody is what got you originally into magic?
Mine is twofold. There's like literally 2 separate times in my life I got interested in magic. So I'll give you both, because the first one's is more traditional. I was 5 years old. I was taking guitar lessons, and it's like half-hour lessons. I'd go see this guy, and he'd teach me guitar lessons. And I don't know, I wasn't really practicing very much on my own, just at the lessons. So he started being like, hey, if you practice and you show up and you do the things and you put a little effort in, I will show you a magic trick every time. And he just had like some real dollar store magic tricks, like the little clear case with the black dice in it. The one dice, you shake it, and now it's like 6 little die or whatever. And it just real simple stuff. But I'd never seen magic before, and he wasn't very good at it, but he loved it. And he would do the trick, and he would also show me how it worked. So like it was just right out of the gate, because he was stoked about magic too. He's like, yeah, look at that. Now look at this. And it was kind of it was sweet and fun. And I did that for years. So I think it's one of the reasons I kept up with the guitar lessons for so long. But I never really went out and got magic. I didn't ask my parents to buy me a magic kit or anything. I just genuinely thought that was a cool part of taking guitar lessons that everyone got to experience. And then I totally ignored magic from about 12 onward. And then when I was 19, I had a really boring day job. I was a guy that wore orange coveralls, drove around in the truck working for the city, and I filled potholes in the road. And that just took like no time at all. And then you'd have to wait for like an hour for the dump truck to go get more stuff and come back. So you're just sat on the side of the road with nothing to do. And this is like not really, I'm not super old that we didn't have smartphones or anything, but it wasn't like sit there and crush, YouTube or anything on your phone for hours. Like you weren't streaming stuff in 2005 or whatever it was, 2006, so you would, you can only text your 2 friends so much, and then you're like, whatever. So I went to a bookstore and I bought 3 books they had on card magic, because I'd seen a David Blaine special beforehand. And I thought, and I always say David Blaine, but the reality is I was watching Mind Freak a lot, but that doesn't sound as cool. So I tell people it's David Blaine, but it's not. It was Chris Angel. And I thought he was just the greatest. And I'm like, I'm going to learn these card tricks. So I started learning out of a book, and lucky for me, I was sat next to this guy that was also paid to sit on the side of the road with me. So I had a built in audience against his will. It must have been torture. And I did tricks to him every single day. And I got very good at them. And then I would take him to my university. I was going to school at the time, and I would do them in the campus pub. Made me very popular with the dudes. The women, they didn't really thought it was kind of weird, but the guys were like, "This is amazing." So yeah, I didn't pay for many drinks in college. That was my highlight of it for a while. That was how I got into it for real the second time. That was when it really grabbed me and didn't let go.
When did you know that you were like, you're this is what you're gonna do for
It's tricky because I was getting good at it. I knew I was like going to be a lifelong magic lover and always the guy that knew a bunch of tricks. I found penguin magic shortly after that. And I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm always going to make sure I have some magics. I like the feeling of being able to be the life of the party with more than just backflips and storytelling. So I'm like, this is like another gear, you know? So I was really pumped up about that. And then, and then when I was, this is like 6 years I did this. And then when I was 25, I dropped out of college. I was still working at that job. I just went there from part time to full time. And I quit one day because they offered me like a promotion, and that freaked me out. Because I was like, oh man, my life is just going in a direction I do not want this to go. I didn't like that job. Now here I am 25, and everyone who's ever been 25 knows how old you feel at 25, right? You're like, I'm letting my life pass me by. What have I done? You know? And I quit on the spot, and I said, I'm just gonna go be a magician, fully not thinking it was gonna work out. Literally, I loved it. I thought I'm young enough to take a swing, and who cares if it works out or not? It'll be fun for a while. And then we're 14 years later now, and it's just never not worked. So I don't think I really believed it was going to work until like I was a couple of years in to being a full time magician, and then looking over my shoulder, being like, I think I'm kind of killing this. So that's kind of when I was already doing it full time before I really thought about doing it full time forever.
wow. And you kind of, I like that you know your brand. You talked about kind of knowing your brand and how that makes you can do more with less if you know what your brand is.
Yes.
And I really love that. But you kind of, your brand is kind of like, you call yourself the stunt magician, right? And so what led you to like doing, I guess, stunts where, you know, you're putting your body through rackets and you know, drinking beer off of your chin.
Yeah.
What led you to that road?
I think definitely. I went to college originally on a basketball scholarship. So I was playing college basketball. I was very fit. And I was always interested in all kinds of physical feats or whatever. So like, you know, I was always the guy that would be walking on his hands, or like I said, like, you know, learning to do backflips, or, you know, whatever kind of weird thing, you know, winning the limbo competition, like whatever it would take, jump off the highest bridge. I was just that guy. So I guess I was like, you know, when I started learning magic tricks, and then, you know, you bring in David Blaine and you see the stunts he would do, or even Chris Angel, some of the physical stuff he was trying. And then you're reading about Houdini, because every young magician loves to read about Houdini. And I go, I think this is a thing. And I think you could do it more, or like differently, like funny. I was always doing funny anyway. So I was like, maybe there's a way to do this. And, you know, I'm a huge fan of P.T. Barnum even back then. So I was like, I think it's just good marketing to have a thing. So I was like, stunt magician isn't a thing that exists. I think I should sort of just grab as much market share as I can, even though before I understood those terms, but I did study business in university, right? That's what I was doing. So I had already had these thoughts in my head about how this should look. And so yeah, right away it was like, you know, ripping phone books and straight jackets and walking on broken glass, walking on hot coals, eating light bulbs, like all of those, like, you know, danger magic, sideshow magic, all of that I was interested in. And right out of the gate, I was like, this is way too serious for my personality. So I need to make this funny as well. And over the years, the stunts have sort of fallen off in a lot of ways as far as what sometimes the audience expects. So I don't necessarily market myself as a stunt magician that often, even though that's like sort of all my Instagram handles and everything. But I think when people hear that, they really do expect you to light yourself on fire and run through a brick wall or something. So my show over the years has definitely trended towards more funny, even though if you watch it, I'm literally drinking a beer off my forehead. I'm squeezing my body through a tennis racket. I'm still doing, I'm doing a reverse straight jacket escape or whatever. Like I'm still doing very physical stuff, but in a sense, not quite what people might imagine. But early shows of mine were, blow dart guns and boomerangs and slingshots and throwing hatchets and everything. I had every sort of physical thing on stage you could possibly imagine. And then in my TV show, Big Trick Energy, I was also very much that guy. They'd put me in a box and blow it up, or they'd chain me to something or whatever. So yeah, it's been it was more marketing and just whatever kind of fit me. But like you said in the intro, which I think is maybe the best way to sum it up, I really try and give people the vibe that I am just the funniest guy at the party that we all love that guy at the party that's so funny and he just knows some magic tricks. I want you to have that feeling of just at someone's house party and you're laughing at whatever story or whatever this guy's doing. I love being that guy. And I really try and get that vibe on stage. And it's not easy. It's much easier in a social setting, but I really try to put that on stage.
No, I think I definitely would recommend your special, which is like it's like a 50-minute on your YouTube of one
Yeah.
of the shows, and it's like you can really tell like it's funny because it's almost like it's not just comedy for like dad jokes. It's like there's actually thought out comedy bits in between, and you come off as like. And I think that what I like is you have a mix of actual magic and like, but also gags that are like you like okay, you realize like the one you did on Penn and Teller where you have the almost the instant stooge where you have the thing on your back
Yeah.
but then you go into a book test, which is great.
Yeah.
Like, so it's actually like, so it's almost like throwing you off balance. And I thought that was a really clever, it's a clever kind of mix. Have you
Yeah.
ever done that back trick where it really the person you had on the special, I think they were, 4 or 5 drinks in, maybe more. So I was going to like, is he going to be able to read that? Like, does that ever just go really, really awry?
Yeah. I've had people not read it a bunch. I mean, I don't know how many times I've done it. I've done it at this point probably like 200 times, and they've probably not read it maybe 10. But it's layered because in a big theater, they read it every single time, because in a big theater, when I'm bringing the person on stage, I flick my mic off with my thumb so no one else can hear me. And I turn to them as I'm walking them up. I'm like, give a big round of applause for John. And I flick my mic off and I go, just read the fucking shirt, dude. And I flick my mic back on. Now, he has no idea what that means yet, right? I can see them be like, what the hell was that? They don't know what
That's
it means.
awesome.
They don't find out what it means for another 3 minutes. But then as soon as I take my shirt off, I know they're going to click in. So then I don't really worry. And then it's always every time they nail it. But then the times that the room's too small or I have a mic that I don't control the sound, I can't say that. So then I just let it ride and just hope they do it. And when they don't do it, though, it isn't even that bad. Because when they don't do it, what I found out is you give them a few tries, you're like, oh, pretty close, not quite. And then at one point you can just be like, how hard is your job? And just turn around. And then the audience is the gag. And then I'm
Good.
like, oh man, I should have asked, where are you from? Maybe you can't read. I didn't know. Whatever whatever you want to do, you can riff with it, and it's quite fun. So it's not quite as good, but it's pretty damn good.
I don't know. That actually almost sounds better. Like,
In a way, it is.
Like,
It is.
that'd be really good.
Yeah, and then people love it. It's like, oh, that guy screwed you up. I can't believe it. Oh, you made it so funny. You get a lot of credit for getting out of that situation, which is nice.
I do like how you talked about outs. You have a really good video on your YouTube page about talking where you look at fails,
Yeah.
like magic fails, which I had secondhand embarrassment from watching some of those. But the insight that you gave to talking about how to get out of it was actually really, really good.
Appreciate that. And that is an important thing when you're getting into magic, or even just as a fan watching magic. It's important to have those in your head about like where you'd be a crazy magician to go on stage and not have multiple outs for things. That's why some guys that use technology in their magic, which is really popular, especially with like mentalism style magic, mind reading stuff. A lot of it is technology based. You're relying on an app or something that should have been charged that day. Maybe it wasn't. Some button that might not work every time, that a wireless or Bluetooth. They always talk to each other about how to get out, because if you're really relying on this thing and the printer doesn't print, all of a sudden you look like a real clown. And it only takes one of those experiences for you to build in a bunch of different outs. So when you're watching magic and a magician actually legitimately fails, if you ever see that, know that not just one thing failed, probably like 3 things had to go wrong there, and now he's just like, if you ever really have nothing, a trick should never fail on stage, it should just look like not a good trick, right? At the worst case scenario, you'd be like, "That one wasn't that good," and that's just because it was like the third path you're trying to take, so, yeah, I don't know, I'm fascinated by people's choices for how to save themselves, it makes it, pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But yeah, speaking of like online stuff, like you've built quite a YouTube presence or social media.
Yeah.
When did you kind of realize that you had the I guess that when did you start thinking about strategy for online presence? When did that come into play in your career?
I think, when I was, like, really into magic at the beginning, and I had already started doing it a lot. And so I would have been like, 25, 26, and performing a lot. Now I'm starting to get not just close up magic, I'm getting on stage now, you know? And by the time I'm like 27, uh, I was like, there's nowhere to watch stage magic. I could go to Vegas and I can watch a show. That felt like about it. And then I go online and I could find hundreds of comedy specials. I was watching tons of comedy back then. And I'm like, where are the magicians? You'd find like a whole old Harry Anderson special, which was awesome. You might find a
Yeah.
couple clips of Amazing Jonathan doing like 7 minutes here and there on different shows, but you couldn't just sit down and watch like an hour. And I was like, this is weird. And, and I was aware of Justin Willman because he'd posted a couple things from his college tour, but mostly it was like him on Rachel Ray under Just Incredible. And I was like, why can't I just Google this guy and watch his show? So I was like, that's it. I'm gonna do this. There's a hole in the market. YouTube is blowing up. I'm gonna put something on YouTube. So I used all of my money, rented a theater in Vancouver where I'm from, and shot this special. Hired it out. Like, I mean, I was $10,000 in the hole before the whole thing even started, maybe more. I'd borrow all my money, borrowed some from a friend, like crazy. And I was like, I hope we sell tickets. And we ended up selling, 1,000 tickets for 20 bucks a piece or whatever. So it paid for everything. I made some money. And then I had this special, but I couldn't afford to shoot it more than once. And I couldn't even afford to rehearse it. And I built some big prop tricks for it and stuff. I was still finding my feet. So I have a whole crystal casket, which is like an elaborate illusion that I built in my dad's shop, which I built it for 1,200 bucks. But if you wanted to buy a good one, it'd be like 5 grand. So I was like trying to do everything on a budget, didn't have time to rehearse or anything. Anyways, I shoot the special, I get it edited. I realize this is not exactly as good as I wanted it to be, because I wasn't as polished as I wanted to be. But there's a huge audience, huge theater. It looks beautiful. I'm like, there are 3 clips here that I think are usable. I know they're viral. I designed these tricks to be viral. And I'm like, I'll post those. So I cut them out. They're like 5 minutes each. I'm like, these will be great. And then I just didn't post them because I was terrified of what would happen. And then, because they're not as good. And it's my first experience of watching myself back, and I'm being like, ugh, it's not what I want. I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to go here. I'm just so hypercritical. And then I have an epiphany. I go, well, you could post a video on YouTube, and if it's bad, no one will see it. And if it's good, mission accomplished. So I'm like, I think I'll just post it. And if it's that bad, literally, it's only going to go to like 10 people. So I posted the one and it did millions of views. And then I posted the other one and the other one, and it went like 7 million, 2 million, 1 million. And in 2014, millions is nuts. It's
That's
nuts.
insane. Yeah.
I was blown away. I'm getting these checks from YouTube all of a sudden for $1,500 a month. And those checks, just from those 3 clips, those checks came in at about $1,500 a month for 2 years. That's how much
Jeez.
revenue is coming in on that. I was like, and it literally supported the next 2 years of my magic career. It was like, oh, rent is paid for, and then some. So it was such a crazy time. And because of the viral, or whatever the word is, of those clips, I did 10 TV shows in the next, or sorry, I did 5 TV shows in the next 10 months. I did, right away, they called me for America's Got Talent and this MTV thing and this sci-fi thing and Wizard Wars, and Penn and Teller Fool Us and America's Got Talent, like all of them, just like within like 10 months, I'm like flying to New York, I'm flying to LA, I'm flying back to LA. So I was like, and that was the whole goal, put it on the internet, have it get views, get on TV. Soon as that happened, I'm like, oh, I did it. This is now next stop, fame train. I'm doing 4 TV shows. I'm flying around. Here we go. So I just stopped posting on the internet. I was like, done, accomplished, internet check mark.
Yeah,
See ya.
done.
And then I just, I didn't go on TV again for 4 years after that, probably. Like I just, but everything else in my life went up. Like now I'm doing corporate gigs in Jakarta, Indonesia, and Singapore, and Australia, and New Zealand, and I'm flying around doing gigs. Everything's up. So I was like, oh, I guess this is it, but I'm still trying to figure out this TV thing, and I'm still posting on YouTube occasionally, but mostly ignoring it. Uh, and I didn't really go back to YouTube in a significant way until the pandemic, like everybody else, when it was like, oh, there's nothing else happening, so we should probably do that. Like for me, it was a source of revenue, always has been since 2014, but it was one I kind of ignored. Some months it would just be $300 or $400 that would come in because I wasn't posting that much. And then I'm like, well, I have an audience. I should just double into this. My best friend in the world, Chris Ramsey, during all of this time, he never took his foot off the YouTube gas, right? And just
My
went on
God,
to
yeah,
clear
he is.
millions of dollars. That's easy to see when you look up his stuff, right? So you're like,
Yeah,
dang, like I really went the traditional route, and he stayed in the pocket knowing that YouTube was going to be bigger than it was. And I'm like, no, it's still 1990. There's traditional media. No, I was an
yeah.
idiot.
What
So
I have to, what I gotta ask him sometimes, how did he know that solving puzzles would be viral? Like that's
accidentally,
just bananas.
Chris is very good at recognizing niches. So he was doing magic on YouTube like us. And one day at a magic shop, they had this lock puzzle. And he's just needed an idea that day for a video. So he's like, maybe I'll just try and open this puzzle on camera. Maybe that's cool. And it was kind of long and boring-ish compared to what he was used to. But he knew it was neat and he enjoyed it. And he's like, I think people would like watching this. So he just threw it up to see. And boy, did they ever. So he's like, maybe I'll do another one. And he liked it. It's magic adjacent. And he was like, let's go. And Chris can spot a niche a mile away. When he sees a niche, he says, I'll just do it better than everybody else. I'll spend more time on
Smart.
the edit. I'll film it better. I'll do it all. So that's how and I mean, now he has a podcast called Area 52 where he does deep dive investigations into the paranormal and UFOs and stuff. And he's murdering that too, because it's
That's
an interest
crazy.
of him. Again, magic adjacent. What's remote viewing like? Can you actually astral project your body, right? Can you see without eyes? Like weird stuff, right? Magic adjacent. No one's there. He does it better than everything. Every video, every podcast looks like a Netflix special. So that's really where his strength is. The rest of us, maybe our egos are in the way or something, or our brains don't work that way. And that's where I suffer from. I'm so creative, funny, whatever. I'm good at that. But when it comes to like just zooming out and seeing the landscape of where you need to park your car, he's so good at that. So I wish I listened to him earlier.
Now that's
But no, once
all
the
of us.
pandemic happened, I went all in on YouTube and Facebook. Another great spot. I got that Facebook channel up to like 600,000 followers. YouTube's 270 or something. So it's a really good amount of eyes I get now, which is awesome. And I try and post something on Facebook every day, on YouTube a couple times a week for sure. Yeah, but you just got to do it to a point that doesn't burn you out, because that's the other thing. People go all in. I'm not built that way. I love live performing too much that I could be a better YouTuber with the air quotes, but I don't think I could survive it. I even for the love of money, I think I just not built that way. I don't have the editing gene to put that time in. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's it's hard. You see a lot of people burning out literally just playing video games.
I know.
But
And some
when you said that you had designed the tricks to be viral, what does that mean exactly?
Well, that definitely back in 2014 when I did the major one back then was this like vanishing girl trick I had this idea for, which is kind of the opposite how you traditionally use a crystal casket. Crystal casket, normally you have this box that is see-through, you put a sheet over it, you pull the sheet away. Now the beautiful assistant is in the box and you help her out. And I didn't know how it worked. I knew she was in the box, but I didn't know the fundamentals of how it opened. But I'm like, this is more fun if you vanish the person, I thought. Just because I don't want an extra person on stage. I wanted to bring someone from the audience, put them in there, they're vanished. That to me is fun. And I'm like, it's so much fun. And then because I'm, at the time, I'm just like out of college kind of bro humor guy. So I'm like, well, it's so much funnier if I pull the sheet off too early and only the clothes are gone so far. I'm like, oh, I didn't let the magician trick work long enough. No. And of course, I'm like, I'm going to add this intermediary step of naked hot chick, and naked hot chick plus internet equals for sure views,
Yeah.
especially back then because they weren't policing it as much. Even though this one, there's no like nip slips or anything. She's covering like this and she's still wearing her thong. Now they'd probably flag it instantly anyways, just because. But it depends on your channel. But back then I knew they weren't going to. That wasn't even a thing. We didn't even talk like that actually. So I'm like, this will just get views, period, because sex sells. I had to marketing school, university just to learn sex sells. Idiots. So, so then I knew that trick was going to be viral. If I don't mess this up, it's a viral trick for sure. And then I had another one with I'd grab this random woman's purse and I'm going to pull out funny things like condoms and underwear and maybe a
That's one of my
vibrator or
favorite
whatever.
tricks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. I've evolved that one over the years so much. I still do it sometimes. I've tried every different thing coming out of there. My jokes now are actually much more sophisticated and not as again bro frat boy humor as they were back then. But either way, I knew that one was going to be a viral one for sure. So yeah, I just like let's go, yeah, I just knew these little ideas. I knew you couldn't see much magic, and you definitely couldn't see magic like this. So I'm just like, that's where I'm going to do it, and I knew it would work, and I was really surprised that I knew it would work because like I'm like, this is working like I thought it would work. And then the TV shows are calling me. Why is this working exactly like I thought? I literally thought for a minute, I'm like, I must be a genius. It was just like I drank my own Kool-Aid for a second there. I was like,
That's awesome.
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Naked women plus internet equals money. I'm so glad you went to marketing school for that.
Yeah. And
But
yeah, I definitely, it's a tricky class to get an A in.
brilliant. Yeah. I see you have the straitjacket behind you, and you were saying something about a reverse straitjacket trick. Is that where you just put the straitjacket back on?
Yeah, I did a straight jacket escape for a long time. So first big thing I ever did, right? Like bought one and I said, "Oh, I'm going to become like a busker. You know, that's a good place. I can't find anywhere to get on stage. Maybe I'll be a street performer." Street performer and straight jackets, perfect. It's big. At that time, I'm doing mostly card tricks, you know. So I'm like, I need something bigger if I'm going to have big crowds. So straight jackets seemed economical, right? Like you can get 5 or 10 minutes of material out of it, and you can it's big and they're not that expensive. They're like $300, which at the time was like super expensive, but I'm like, it's a good investment. So I bought one, started doing the straight jacket escape on the street. I'm like, yeah, I like this. I'm pretty good at it. Fit right into my physicality. I quickly found a whole bunch of my own. And I started off with all the same old jokes we all, you know, you can see and learn online or whatever. And then I quickly was like, oh man, I found so many little pockets of funny for me that worked really well. And I realized I'm very flexible still, so I can get my leg up very high and it's super fun. And I was like, oh, this is perfect for me. So I did that for years, and I would, you know, do it on cruise ships. I do it on corporate events. I would do it anywhere they'd have me do it. I did it on America's Got Talent, and then even Mr. Beast asked me to go do a video for me to do it on there. And I was like, kind of done with it at this point. I'm like, I don't think there's anywhere else to do this straight jacket escape. And the Mr. Beast video didn't even air. I didn't get to do it. Darcy Oaks ended
Oh,
up doing
man.
it, not me. So I'm just down in Greenville, North Carolina, just like not doing the trick, which is, you know, fair. They have to have a backup guy in case the other guy gets hurt, and Darcy just crushed it. So they didn't need me. But I was like kind of done with the straight jacket at that point. And then one day I was like, because there seemed like nothing new, you know, everyone does a straight jacket. You go on any cruise ship, the guy's going to do it. And I was like, it's nothing new, nothing new. And then one day I was like sitting in my house. I'm like, wonder if I can get into it by myself. Because I hadn't been in a straitjacket in a while, and I was thinking of maybe doing it in this corporate gig that was coming up, and no one was home to put me in it. So I'm like, maybe if I could just get it on myself, and that way I could practice this escape. And I started trying to put it on myself, and I was killing myself laughing with how ridiculous it looked. Like I was literally just crying laughing at my own self for like trying to get into this thing. And then I was like, this, if I can actually get into this, this is the act. So I struggled through it. I found the shortcuts and what I needed to do. And then I'm now standing in my own living room, too exhausted and too laughing hysterically to even get out at this point. I'm sweating. I know I'm stuck in this thing. So now I'm laughing that I can't, I'm too tired to even escape. I can't get out if I want to. So I'm just like, the whole thing was like literally crying, laughing to me. I'm just looking like a crazy person in my apartment, just sat down on my straitjacket, just crying, laughing, being like, this is the most insane thing. And then I'm like, this is the act. And it takes me twice as long to get into it as it ever has to get out of it. It's so hard. And I started doing it on shows, and it just started killing. And the absurdity of it is so funny. I still think most audience would rather just watch a straitjacket escape, but the jokes I get to do now are so uniquely mine, and it feels more me that the audience eventually, I think now they would prefer to watch me do it this way because it's so interesting. And to finish your show in a straitjacket and then just walk off or have the curtain come down, something is so satisfying about that to me. And people are like they'll no, get out of it now, take it off. Like they can't handle this unfinished feeling. And so often what I'll do is I'll walk off stage and I'll either quickly get out of it or I'll have my other one there. I have two straight jackets and I'll have someone else. As soon as I walk off, they just throw the straight jacket back out from the wings and it lands on the stage. Even though I'm still in it over here, they don't know, and the audience just goes crazy. So I don't know, something about
So
this thing. I
good.
stumbled into it, and I absolutely I love it. And again, anytime you can do something that feels like you, original stuff feels so good. It just I love it.
What you talk about comedy, and it's easy to see where you learned to do magic. You were able to get books, but how did you learn? Where did you go for how to learn to actually tell a joke well?
Yeah, that was like I was definitely one of the people that anytime my whole life I was always considered the funniest person. And you don't really think much about it. If someone people always think you're funny, you're just like you have a very high confidence of funny. Like so any get together anywhere, if I had a funny thing to say, I would just say it. Sure, you strike out sometimes and you embarrass yourself a few times, but mostly I'm just killing it. My confidence is like NBA Steph Curry shooter level. I feel like I can't miss ever. So then when I was like 19, I'm like, I'll just go do stand-up comedy. I'm the funniest guy alive. And I was smart enough to know that I shouldn't try and write jokes. I should just go tell a very funny story. And that's what I did. And it killed. It was barely different than being not on stage for me. It was a small comedy club room, not a lot of people. I wasn't that nervous because I'd done a lot of like magic, not like stage level magic, but like, having everyone's attention in a room doing card tricks, So it wasn't that weird. It was like there's only 15 people here. I've done a card trick to 15 people. So it didn't strike me as too strange. And then yeah, I just did this story I've been telling and it got good laughs. And I was like, I think I like this. So I just started going out to comedy clubs more, telling stories. And then quickly, they were like, well, instead of doing 3 minutes, can you do 7 minutes? And I was like, I don't think I can do 7 minutes. That sounds like three stories. And I don't know if I have that confidence. So then I was like, I'll tell a story and I'll do a trick. I'll just do both the things I know that are good. And it just sort of kept going from there. But I couldn't find anywhere to perform magic, but I could find always places to do comedy. And if I went and just did straight magic, they were kind of happy to have me. But if I went and was like, no, I'm a comedy guy, I happen to do some tricks, they were like, oh, your home. This is where you're supposed to be. So very quickly in the Vancouver comedy scene, they welcomed me with open arms and I did whatever tricks, whatever jokes I wanted. And it was just an awesome way to learn. And you learn so much about comedy by watching other comedians and seeing people crash and burn, seeing people kill. Like it just like anything, you become a fan of it, you're instantly going to be better at it because you're going to see. So I learned, quickly, slowly, all of it. Still learning. Learned another lesson last week myself. So yeah, it's never ending. It's comedy's a lifelong pursuit, just like magic.
True.
And
One
learning where
thing
your
that
outs are there too. I didn't find that out for a while. Got to have different off ramps. If you're telling a story and it's not going well, you're like, I got to have different ways to get out of it. So I don't have to go all the way to the end sometimes. Or like, oh, maybe that's kind of offending somebody or not landing. I have to figure out different words, different tags. And I love it. I'm obsessed with it, man. It's pretty cool. So I'm glad it's a skill set I have now. I can do like long stand up only sets. And if people didn't know, they wouldn't think that's not a comedian up there. They would be like, oh, this is solid. So that's a really good feeling too, especially because I've had my airlines lose my luggage on my way to my magic shows before. So
yeah, there was a documentary, I think you talked about that, like you could just go to it, but now you could just go to a dollar store, right? And
yeah,
you could get enough
I
for
do.
40 minutes.
And dollar store is the best. You go to the dollar store or wherever, Walmart, whatever, and you buy all the things you need. You can make some stuff. If you have a good basis in magic, you can figure out quite a bit of tricks. But also, yeah, you get to walk on stage with bags from Walmart and the dollar store and be like, the airline lost my luggage, but I figured out a show. And the audience is instantly in. They're like, what? And they give you so much credit for everything now because they know the story. So all of a sudden, I mean, honestly, if I could manufacture that at every show, I would. It's so funny because they're just like, they're so forgiving of everything. You do one minor miracle and they are just on their feet, like, yeah, without his tricks, without his tricks. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. I mean, speaking of coming up with tricks on the spot, I mean, you've worked on a lot of television shows. You were talking about the show you did with Eric Leclerc about,
Yeah.
having to come up with all these tricks like nonstop and with, big trick energy and coming up with all. How is it different trying to come up with tricks for television and the abundance of tricks you have to come up with versus having you pretty much your standard 40 minutes that you've done a million times?
Yeah, I think there's a big difference for that. Like the first show I ever worked on with Eric Leclerc, he was the host and I was just hired as the magic consultant. It actually came down to him or me hosting the show. And I lost to him in this sort of like, we each did a pilot episode and then they checked it out. And they're like, well, Eric's a better host. So they're like, do you want to be behind the camera inventing the magic? And I was like, sure. I never had a job working on TV at all. So I like, this might be a good learning experience. And it was. So there's me and one other magician consultant, Travis Bernhardt, and we had to come up with like 270 something tricks for those episodes, for the 20 episodes. And we put in the rule that we weren't going to do any card tricks. So we really gave ourselves this parameter.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was an incredibly hard thing to do. But I was like, I don't care about these tricks because I don't have to perform them. Eric does. So I just allowed myself to this huge relief of any idea I had is a good idea. All I had to do was pitch it to Eric and the producers. If I could pitch it well, then my job was done. So I would design it, I'd pitch it, and then Eric would be stuck with having to try and perform it, which was fucking hilarious because some of them were just absolutely crap and Eric's out there trying to sell them. But I learned exactly what tricks worked on TV and which ones didn't. So, you fast forward now, whatever it is, it was probably 7 or 8 years before I got my own show again with Eric, but we're both on camera this time. And I already know I have a whole bunch of experience now about which tricks will or will not work. So, I'm so glad I had that experience first. But you get in a zone where you're like, during a filming of a TV show, I would never be able to add a new trick to my live stage show just because your brain is not working that way. It shuts off. You're only thinking about what works on TV and there's no way you could bounce back and forth to, like, I don't know how a guy like my buddy Cam Patterson's on SNL now. I don't know how he's doing SNL and then going and doing his stand up on the weekends. Like, his brain works different than mine because I don't know how
Wow.
you're writing sketches and still writing stand up. Blows my mind. So it's for me, they really compartmentalize. Same with like, okay, today or this week I'm doing only internet magic, internet sketches, internet whatever. I'm like shut off to everything else. So yeah, it's a lot of just free writing, being like, give me an object, give me an idea. I don't know. It's something. It's a whole unique skill set. Thank God when we got onto Big Trick Energy, we had a good budget, so we were able to hire the best in the business. We were able to hire like Danny Garcia and Marcus Eddy and then those boys, Blake Voigt and stuff. So they did all
Yeah,
of it
that's
really. You just feed them the ideas and they popped out tricks or vice versa. They were just crushing out ideas. It was so good. Yeah, no, it was like magic consultants are worth every penny. You can hire them for your stage shows, hire them to do Fool Us, hire them to do America's Got Talent, and they're worth it always. It's actors need directors, and I think magicians need magic consultants because it really makes it stronger. I've never really used it for my live stuff, but I probably should. I mean, I think I'm much too much of a comedian in that sense. I really won't. I don't really like the idea of a director. I don't like the idea of music and lighting cues.
okay.
And it probably is to the detriment of my show in a way, but I'm very stuck on that. Eric Leclerc is one of those main guys in my life, one of my best friends, and we're the opposite when it comes to that. And he's like, no, man, you're doing it wrong. But I also like go on stage. This is the other thing that kind of every time I go on stage to do a show, I know I'm going on stage to do a less good magic show than I could do. Because I could do the better tricks, the ones that have been around, the ones that have been tried and tested. I know what tricks they are. I learned them. I can afford them. I can practice them. I have practiced many of them. All you have to do is do it. And I go, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do the best Wes Barker impression I can. you know? And that for me is like so much better, but objectively, it's a worse show magic wise. So I battle with this sometimes, and I don't know. I know I'm right because that's just it's just me, and I'm right for me. But giving advice to other people, I'm like, maybe just curate the coolest magic show that is out there and try and make it as you as possible. So I'm just like, nah, I'm gonna go in all the way with this. So it's tricky, different strokes. I'm not sure.
Well, to your credit, I think that's accurate. I sometimes look through ChatGPT to see like what kind of information I can find on someone. Like, hey, do some bit of research. It's one of the questions it suggested was, "What's the most Wes Barker thing that's ever happened to you on stage?" That's how it talks about you. So you have
That's
it.
great.
Even ChatGPT knows that you have a style. That's kind of your.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want to do music cues, I don't think you need to.
Well, I know I was with Chris Ramsey the other day, and we were driving. I can't remember where we're coming from, but I was like, "Ask ChatGPT who's a better magician, you or me?" And he's like crazy more popular than me, right? Like just like literally has 10 million more fans than I do. And it came up with me. And it was a lot of those reasons why. It was very surprising and shocking. And Chris chat GPT off right away. He's like, this is stupid.
Wow.
But I don't know what it is. Yeah. That's a good question, chats with too. Like, what's the most Wes Barker thing?
What is the most Wes Barker thing that's ever happened to you on stage?
I mean, I think a lot of a lot of the things I would classify as that are like, I have a trick where that I used to do for a lot of time, a lot of years. I just shove 2 flags down my pants, and I'd go out and I would just ask someone in the audience to name a country. And I had this whole funny routine for when they were wrong. And I had this whole joke that's a true story about me at a restaurant one time. I have a whole thing built around them being wrong, which is hilarious. It is 3 minutes and it's beautiful. But then they just started being right so often. And then I have like the world's shortest trick. It's just like name a country. They do. I pull this flag out. It's so impossible. The audience almost doesn't even like it because I didn't build it up in any significant way. They're so confused why it worked. I'm confused why it worked. And it's happened so much. And I was like, and then I work with people and they're like, what, like magicians? I'm like, how does that work? I'm like, I just asked and then they say, and then I pull it out. And they're like, what? How is that the method? I'm like, this is the method. And so it really like I worked with Stephen Bargassi one time and I was doing this trick and I came off stage. He's like, what is that? I told him and he's like, but you can easily make it work every time with a force or pre-show or whatever. But I'm like, yeah, I know all this, but that's not, I'm not even trying to get it right, but it just keeps happening. So I don't know. That for me feels very Wes Barker, where I'm like accidentally hitting this miracle, and I wish so much they would let me just get to my joke, but it doesn't work when the trick goes well. And I couldn't try any harder to make the trick not work. There's 200 and whatever countries in the world. Why is it working? So yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, that's for me is like every time it happens, which is quite regularly, I'm like, this is insane.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and then the other day I tried to do a new trick on stage that I hadn't practiced. Just like this, a variation of a beer drinking trick I wanted to do. And I didn't practice it at all because I worked it out of my brain. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be great. And I'd already done the other version of it several times. So this is like literally a week and a half ago. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that'll work perfectly. And then as soon as I start doing it, I had this full glass of beer. I remembered that I don't know physics. And I just got soaked by a full pint of beer at like the top of my show. And I was like, this wouldn't happen to anyone else either because you'd practice it. You'd run
It
it
would
once with
practice.
some water at home. You'd learn within a second why it wasn't going to work. But no, not me. I think about on my drive there. I drill a hole when I get there with this stupid drill I have in my car, and I absolutely soaked myself. And I was like, "Yep, that's there it is." It was a comedy club. Crowd loved it. They thought it was on purpose for sure. Fun
Awesome.
times.
I have one more question and then a rapid fire. What do you think magicians misunderstand about creating online content? Because I'll tell you what I mean by that. As I see a lot of a new trick comes out and I see 50 people doing the same trick that they bought. For example, the card that had a hole and the hole would move and then,
Yeah,
the black hole and then it would be gone. And it was just like, okay, cool. But it's I
yeah.
don't know. What is what are we
I
not getting?
think. is a very layered thing because there's so many different kinds of online content when it comes to magic. So there is a huge argument to be, yeah, the new trick comes out, just perform it, do it, post it. The quantity matters. So just post all the time. Who cares? You don't have to be married to anything. Do a thing. Okay, cool. I've done that before. Oh, new thing. Someone sends it to me. I'm like, that's kind of neat. Probably wouldn't use it in my day to day, but I'll do a little quick video with it and then move on. That's fine. But if you're trying to actually grow, you got to figure out what is it about you that's different, like anything, right? What made David Blaine so special was, now we're doing street magic, right? Which didn't exist. Magic was on stages and now he's brought it outside. And not only that, we're focusing so much on the reactions. And that's why I got copied to death, right? Now, something about that to me is interesting. So, when the most successful magic I've ever done online is when it's clips from my live show, right back to when I started in 2014 with those viral videos. And that's what still works for me the best because there's still a huge gap in the market of people, they like comedy specials. They're used to seeing this format of someone on stage talking. And now this guy's also doing magic. And it inherently, there's a level of trust where they understand that the audience isn't being paid. They've been to comedy clubs themselves. They know. So now they're like, I've been to see a show. So they trust everything that's happening more without having to show the audience like doing a card trick like Blaine style. They now still believe the magic because they know it's for non-paid actors. So that's one thing I think people miss where it's like they're afraid to do it because they're like, well, I don't want to get all my material out there because what if someone books me for a show? I don't want everyone to see all my material. I got to keep my material, or I have a great trick. I don't want anyone to steal my idea or whatever. And I understand the fear of that, but that's something that I've never worried about. I ultimately think you got to get over it. I think more people would have more views and more success online if they were posting themselves actually performing live in venues. They were well lit, well shot, well attended. I think it would be awesome. But if you want to just turn on your computer and do cool magic to the camera, that's a whole other thing. I mean, keep it short, get to it, right? But try and find, if you're seeing a lot of something, it's probably not the spot to jump in on. So try and find something that you're like, this seems popular but underserviced. And for me, that's definitely like you could watch 2,000 comedy specials tomorrow. You could probably only watch about 5 magic specials. So I'm like, there's something there. People want it. They just don't know how to get it. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's nice to actually watch a full show when you can because I thoroughly, even when I know the trick, I love watching it done that way that
Yeah.
character does it. Like I love
Or like, yeah.
watching.
And how does this
I've seen
audience like it? Oh yeah. Ah, it feels good.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen people swallow balloons, and yours is my favorite.
Thanks.
That
Yeah.
was
It's one of the only,
that.
it's like, I know I talk so much about originality and then I have the balloon swallow in my show for 15 years. And yeah, it's like, my hypocrisy knows no bounds. So I will preach on, I will preach on about this. And then I will literally be like, have you seen a Bill to Lemon, anyone?
Yeah, great Bill
But
to
I
Lemon
try to
too.
add as many layers and more than just changing the pattern. I'm like, we're doing a build a lemon, fine. It's coming out of a stranger's bag and they won't know about it. And so is a bunch of other stuff. I'm doing a balloon. Well, guess what? I happen to do a show in Saskatchewan and this guy said something. So for me, I'm doing the balloon swallow so I can get to this 2-minute story about this homophobic dude in the front row. I cannot wait to tell this story. I just need to get this trick done, you know? So like for me, it's like this push and pull of can I get the originality in there without just changing 2 words and calling them my own.
Yeah, and
So
by the
yeah,
way, is the hardest part about your show blowing up that damn balloon? That is insane. Like that is, I don't think people realize how hard that is to do. I saw that and I was like, dang, that's actually the most impressive thing I've seen.
it used to be for years. I just had a pump with me. I just pump it up on stage. And then one day I walked on stage and I didn't have my pump. And I was like, and I was also like, didn't have enough tricks that day to like, I got kind of cocky. I didn't bring a bunch of stuff. I just try to fill my time. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to blow this balloon up. So I just, out of sheer necessity and force of will, I just blew this balloon up. Oh my God, so crazy. Another balloon one ties right into the Wes Barker thing. The
Yeah, I
most
was
Wes
about to say
Barker
that's a
trick
Wes
that ever
Barker
happened.
moment.
Oh my. So we're doing Big Trick Energy. Danny Garcia has this amazing trick where it's like a bunch of clear balloons, 52 clear balloons with helium in them. And they all have a playing card sort of folded and stuffed inside. And you can see all these playing cards. It looks awesome. And then he's like, yeah, what you're going to do is you're going to force a card on it, force a card. She's going to pick it, vanish the card. I can't remember what else, something. She's going to let go of the balloons. And then you have to take a slingshot and you got to shoot one of the balloons. And then that card will fall to the ground or whatever. And it'll be great. I'm like, okay. Now all the balloons, like she can examine them. You can see all the cards are different. Like it's quite this thing. We had a sweet little pocket of all the same balloons. So like I didn't have to be too accurate with the slingshot. I just have to hit one of these, one of these like 10, like it's in quite a clump. Anyone can do it. I'm not even good at slingshots. I'd shot one once before that. I'd practice shot at a tree and I missed the tree. Right. So I was like, whatever. It's a big, I'll be fine. But you're looking up there and like 40 of these balloons are all different. So she's like looking at it. It looks great to her, but I just know I got to hit that area. No problem. Then they decide to get this big establishing shot. So the guy, the drone operator, flies his drone over to get this really cool shot. And when he flies it over, Danny's running out to the drone guy and be like, no, don't do it. And then the drone just goes over and the fans of the drone just shuffle these balloons like insane. And I'm like, I look at Danny and he's like, and I'm like, and then this woman's already walking up to me to do this trick. And I'm like, oh my God. And I can see one of the balloons that I have to hit, but the other ones are gone. And I have just this one balloon I'm looking at them. So we start doing the trick and then she let goes the balloons and I just line it up. I'm like, oh man. And I hit the balloon, just let it fly. And I popped this one balloon. Like the trick worked like it was supposed to work, like as if you could actually do it. That's how we did it. And the crew was just like losing their mind because we all, so she was like really impressed by the trick, but we are all like, the crew's high-fiving, like, we were so excited. But that was just
it's better when you know how it was done.
Oh yeah. Same on Ellen too. I'm doing a knife throwing thing on Ellen and I haven't hit the playing card I'm supposed to hit all day. We're practicing 5 hours before the event. I'm throwing knives blindfolded, trying to hit this card because we're going to be on in 5 hours. And all the guys can hear is just me missing. Clang, 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 clang. And I was like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know, because I've been practicing for a couple of weeks. I was pretty good at it. Couldn't hit it to save my life. And they're like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to do it on the day. And they're like, the day is in 20 minutes. Like, you haven't hit one yet today. And I'm like, why would I miss in front of Ellen? That sounds crazy. I don't think that would be, I'm not going to miss in front of Ellen. Why would I do that? And I was just so confident I wasn't going to miss in front of Ellen. And then I didn't, I crushed it. But like, again, afterwards, you can hear the guys celebrating when I hit it on camera. They're like, oh yeah. Like, and they're really loud. And I get back to the table and afterwards they're like, I can't believe you hit that. I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know either. So I force of will get to fluke out sometimes with these things.
That's awesome.
I love it.
All right. Are you ready for the rapid fire session?
Yeah, hit me.
All right. Don't think too hard. All right. What's your go-to guilty pleasure snack before or after a show?
Guinness.
I like that. If you can perform before and after and during, if the trick needs it.
You always have to have a beer trick in your show so you can have one on stage.
Fantastic. If you could perform for any historical figure, who would it be and what trick would you show them?
The Queen of England. I think that would be, I'm jealous of anyone who got to do it. I don't know what it is about the Queen, but she was just in power for so long over there. And like performing for royalty is awesome. And I don't care about royalty, but that's the closest one I care about. So yeah, Queen of England for sure.
Very cool. What trick would you show her?
The balloon swallow for sure.
Yes. God, I would have paid so much money to see that happen.
I mean, I would do my appearing beer can trick. I don't know if you know that one, but it involves me getting in my underwear, and I don't know. They might tackle me before I get that one done.
100%. You wouldn't make it alive out of that one. So. What trick do you wish you had invented?
Man, okay. What trick do I wish I had invented? I mean, you could probably just pull anything out of Amazing Jonathan's act, and I would be like that. You don't get a lot of comedy magic heroes. You know what I mean? And he's like the closest one we ever had, the closest one I ever got to see, really. So I was just so impressed by how everything had such a good joke with it, even if the trick was whatever. And obviously, you can tell that's how I like to do magic too. The gags can outweigh it and whatnot. So yeah, I think something like that would be pretty cool. Yeah, I don't really have any better answer than that, but I'm just really, he's just such an idol.
I can't tell you how much growing up, how much I watched his spots on Greatest Magic over and over and over again. Yeah, just rewind them. Just that Windex joke. I use that to this day. Like, I wish I had come up with that because that's one of the best gags that I've ever
And
ever
just
heard.
like, "Can I oh, give me your lighter." Just takes the lighter, puts it in a jar of lighters. Like, what the fuck? It's so funny, sets it down, moves on. Like, yeah, people will give a magician anything if you ask for it. Like, "Oh, is that your wedding ring? Can I see it?" They're like, "Sure." They would never give their ring to anybody, but they're giving it to
No,
you. They don't know you. Like, "Oh, great. Thank you.
absolutely.
Bye."
All right, last one. When you're not doing magic, what's your favorite way to unwind?
Oh, hiking, mountain climbing, those kinds of things for sure. A couple years ago, I did Kilimanjaro, and then in January, I'm going to Ecuador to do Cotopaxi. I like
Ooh,
overnight mountain climbs for sure. I mean, would I ever do Everest? Maybe one day. I don't know if I really want to die, but I definitely like uncomfortable, extreme sort of sport style stuff like that. And hiking and climbing isn't that it's not that crazy on your body as much as it is. It's not like, it feels like something you can just always do, and I just like it. So it gets me off my phone, gets me off of the internet. So
yeah,
definitely any kind of hiking, even if it's not extreme, it could just be a day hike for 4 hours. Like that is my number one favorite thing to do.
that's very Wes Barker of you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So, Wes, thank you again so much for coming on the show with us. Really appreciate it.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And yeah, if you like this, please like and subscribe. Do all those cool things that somehow Wes has gotten you to do for him. So do that for and spread the word. And remember that magic starts with a story. And we will talk to you next time.
See ya.
Yay! And outro song.